Good morning, everyone. This will be our last topic for midterms, transactional replication. So, this topic is in line with our earlier discussion on distributed databases and implementing SQL administration. So, this is another tool that we could use for automating the replication of data. Remember that in replication, we have two modes. We have horizontal and vertical. Now, an affordable, customizable native feature set for horizontal scaling of SQL Server is the feature SQL Server Transactional Replication. So, it is the mostly applied method of data replication in a distributed database. So, what will be covered in this discussion? We have concepts and definitions, replication setup, walkthrough, performance tuning, and monitoring replication. Now, please bear in mind that there are various SQL Server editions. What you have installed at the laboratory is just an Express edition. So, if you would refer to this table, you would see that the Express edition does not support uh, publication. By the way, in replication, in distributed database, there is a publisher and there is a subscriber. So, the Express Edition only supports subscribing the data, but it does not support publishing data or articles. So, what I have given to you is the SQL Server Standard Edition. So, it has here yes for replication and yes for snapshot replication. So, Standard Edition will suffice on implementing publisher and subscriber uh, components. The complete version of SQL Server is the developer edition. This is usually released by Microsoft when they have a new version of SQL Server. So replication again is the process of sharing data between databases and ensuring the data is transactionally consistent between the systems. So it is our job as database administrator when we implement distributed databases that we should be able to transfer the data from one server to the other by either of the two methods, so the horizontal and then the vertical. Replication components are defined using the publishing industry metaphor. So if you're familiar with the publishing industry, we have here the publisher, for example, a newspaper inquirer. So inquirer will be then referred to the publisher, and the people that will read the articles are referred as subscribers. So the same metaphor used here in SQL Server, the publisher will be the source of data, which is a server. Okay, maybe in a server stored at Davao City site. Now, the subscriber will then be another SQL server located at Cebu or another country. Now, the one that is being published is called article. Article is an object that can be replicated. Publication is a set of articles to be published as one group. The distributor, on the other hand, is a server that distributes publication data and subscriber servers for the client. So, the distributor will work as the middleman, which will manage the data that will be published by the publisher. He is also responsible in distributing the database to the subscribers. Alright. Now, what can be replicated? What are these articles? So, you could actually publish tables, stored procedures, user-defined functions, views, and so on. So, these are the different articles that you could distribute throughout the network. So, how replication works? So, a snapshot is the process to initialize the dataset for the subscribers. It could be a backup, but more often BCP process that is automated for you. Now, when we say snapshot, it is the initial dataset of the database that was taken on the initial stage of the publishing. Now, that certain snapshot, when someone will subscribe to the publisher, that snapshot will then be replicated to the subscriber's server through the distributor. So agent, on the other hand, are exit programs that automate the process. So early on, I have shown you the demonstration on the different services, and one of it is the SQL Server agent. The SQL Server agent will be the one responsible in doing all the tasks. No? So let's take the analogy. If the SQL Server is the president, Digong, then the SQL agent is Bongo. No? He will be the one to do everything. And then the SQL Server will just tell what task to do next. Log reader agent is the one responsible for marking the replicated log. So if you could recall in the vertical distribution of data, when I mean horizontal, when a certain tuple is distributed to the subscriber, how are we going to know, for example, if this certain data or tuple was then transferred already? So this log reader agent will be the one responsible in marking the specific tuple or row of data that it was transferred already. So typical transactional replication. So here we have the data user, which could directly subscribe to a certain publisher, or it will go through a certain subscriber. The subscriber will communicate to a distributor, which was managed by a certain publisher. So this is the typical illustration on how to implement replication throughout a network. So transactional replication has two modes: the pull subscription and push subscription. So when we say push subscription, the publisher will be the one responsible in giving the data to the subscribers. So it will then push the articles o kamong mga subscribers na ako'y bagong data. Mo ni siya. Ha? On the other hand, there is this another method which is the pull. Pull subscription is that the subscribers will then ask the publisher, uy, na ba mo'y bagong article? Do you have a new version of this table? And then it will get the data. So that's how it differs, no? So the push and the pull subscription. Unfortunately, in this slide, it was then created using the SQL Server 2008 edition. And what I have given to you, the installer, is 2005. So I will just demo using the SQL Server 2005. Now, for the SQL Server, you cannot just create an instance of a server just like on every, for example, a Java project, just go to File and then New, no? So to create a new instance for the SQL, you have to install a fresh SQL Server instance using the installer itself. So I have a ready installer here. So set up. Again, I am going to demonstrate how to replicate publish and subscribing through different SQL servers. Okay, click next. So the same process with the installation of the SQL server, if you could still remember. So let's wait for it. Okay, click next. Okay, registration, click next. Now, instead of checking all the services, just choose SQL Server Database because this is the only service that will then be installed by a new instance. No? So, other services like analysis, notification are common components of the SQL. So, you don't have to install it because you have already installed it on the first installation. So, click SQL Server Database Service. Click Next. Now, instead of the default instance, you could name it like, for example, Cebu Server. Click Next. Use built-in system account, mix mode, enter password, the password that you want. Okay, click next, next, install.